Hey guys, this is Shane and welcome to my Curator of the Lost channel. Today, hey, we're going to talk about a kind of a serious subject here on, it's had a viewer, Travis Mitchell. Shout out to Travis. He had sent me a note last night, saying, hey, check your Amazon, your FBA inventory, because a lot of my stuff just got turned off. And I checked mine in Manhattan. I did some Google searches, and there were a lot of people complaining that Amazon's made this just arbitrary thing that it's turning off a lot of people's inventory, making it inactive, because they're saying that they can no longer sell popular books. And there's not really any explanation. Some people say that there's a note that says that you can reapply, but then when you go to do it, it's like this just chasing your tail. You can't do it. And it's an example of what the serious topic is what do you do when Amazon or eBay changes a rule? What can you do if they change a rule that messes up your online business, your book sales, or whatever that might be? It doesn't just have to be books, right? And this concept is one of the elements in your critical path. And I've done a video on thinking about your critical path in the past, but I think in light of what's this thing that's just happened, it's good to revisit. So, hey, before we jump in, I do want to say thanks. Thank you for the views, the channel support, and hey, this is probably a hot button thing. I look forward to the comments, and it's really just one of those things that it's going to happen. If you sell long enough, one of these platforms, you're going to get hosed by it in one way or another, right? So you just have to prepare yourself. And so let's just talk about this critical path, what you can do, and what some of your alternatives are to help protect yourself. So, again, let's just jump in. So, this is, it didn't happen to me, and I'm thankful for that, but I can imagine, I'm a budding Amazon seller, and if I've got like 300 books out there, and if, 100, 250, I don't care if it's 20 of them, if they get just turned off with no real reason, I would be, I'd be upset too. And it's like, the problem is this. When we sell on an Amazon, when we sell on an eBay, or we sell on any platform, it is their rules. And we have, as sellers, it's unfair because our selling makes up so much of the marketplace, but it's their platform, their rules, and we have to abide by them. If we don't have to agree, we don't even get a shot at, are they fair, are they unfair? It doesn't matter we have to abide by them. And that's the really stinky part of these online sales channels. The good things are the mass of people that you can reach, the whole e-commerce thing, the breadth of potential sales is what drives it. But there's so much of it that's out of our control. So when you think about it in terms of your critical paths in your selling, when you sell, you can control the middle part, right? How you list it, how you take your photographs, the speed at which you go through it and get it out there, the way you ship it, all of that customer service, you handle all that. But the two sides that you have less control on are the sourcing side and the selling side. On the sourcing side, I always say the key is you have to diversify. It's the ebb and flow. You can have an estate sales, you can have thrift stores, you can, whatever, library bookstores, whatever your sourcing is. If you do it long enough, you will run through periods of dry spells. I'm going through a thing right now with one of my thrift stores that I pull tons of stuff from over the summer. It's just been dry for like 6 weeks. And one of the checkout girls said the problem is that they can't find anybody to work books. They can't find enough staff. So that's why the books just aren't making it to the shelf. But it has been just a dry well for probably 6 weeks. And if that was my only source, it's in my critical path, man, I would be hurting for books, right? So it's an example on the sourcing side, and it's more straightforward on that side to diversify, right? You can get creative with Facebook Marketplace. You can put ads out there. You have different venues it could be yard sales, flea markets, in addition to the traditional things. Excuse me. So the issue is on the selling side, we can be much, much more limited. And, the big two are going to be eBay and Amazon. And, if you get crosswise of one of their rules, whether it doesn't have to be on purpose, it could be totally innocent, but you could get your account turned off, or you get an action like what just happened on, yesterday, where Amazon decides popular items, you can't sell them. What's a popular item? Well, it's not really defined. What do I do? Well, there's not, it's one-sided, arbitrary, seemingly, and that makes it even more unfair, right? Also, if you think about how Amazon earlier, this late summer, early fall, had some sellers where they reduced their FBA inventory. They said, you were approved for 3,000 books or 4,000 books, and they cut it down to like 2,000. Said you can't send any more in until you get to this level. If this is your, you're doing this as a hobby, it's irritating at best, right? Feels a lot worse than that, but it's irritating. If you're doing it as a side gig to make ends meet, or to pay down bills, or to save for something, it gets more serious. And if you're doing this sort of thing for a living, then this is a serious deal. We cannot let ourselves, you can't be complacent. If you're in that boat, you cannot be complacent and have that as your only selling channel. Are other channels going to be as good as eBay or Amazon for you? Maybe not. You have to look at diversifying. If it's diversifying the types of things you're selling, if you're doing books, do other media, other collectibles, sell on eBay, maybe Mercari, maybe Etsy. That is what you're left with. I mean, because if it's in your critical path, you have an option, right? They change the rules, and whether it's fair or unfair, you can say, I give up, or you can get to work. All right. You're not going to push the rope. You're not going to move the behemoth, right? You're not going to move the mountain. Those systems, those, as good as the marketplaces are in a lot of ways, if they make a policy and it hoses you, and you hear these horror stories about people who've built e-commerce things, and there'll be like a change on the way, one of these platforms will advertise or what they let you sell, and it just completely can decimate your business. If you're doing this for real, I mean, like, you're depending on this income, you cannot be complacent. You've got to diversify. If you're only selling on eBay or only selling on Amazon, you need to be selling also, branching out to the other platforms. Maybe even looking at some Etsy, these Mercari, these other things. It's not easy, and it stinks. But the other alternative is that you just give up. You just take it and say, that's it. And maybe it gets to the point where that's what you have to do for whatever reason. It kills it. But there's no other choice, and it stinks. I actually have a personal, in my real job, I do books. I do this stuff for, kind of a side gig, kind of hobby. I enjoy it. I make good side money on it, but it's not my livelihood. I have my day job. But I had a customer just in the last 3 months that I've worked for over 20 years, and they're very happy with what we do for them, the product we provide. But their organization reorged, and it came down to my customer was part of a smaller organization and got eaten by a bigger organization. The bigger organization has a different focus. Regardless, nothing at all to do with the product and the work and the service that I and my team have supplied these people for 20 years. They just don't want to do it anymore. They feel like it's not their focus. Somebody else can pick it up if they want it. That's it. And it stinks. It's not fair. So what, I've been having to work hard to get new customers. And I question myself on this, when something happens like this. I think that's the self-reflection, do a 360. I question myself on things like this. What could I have done earlier? I see it. Maybe I was a little too complacent, and Maybe I should have never had a customer that, our whole business wasn't on this, but it was a good chunk, right? Maybe I should have always been, pushing more harder. And that's probably a fair criticism that I make of myself. But, sometimes you just, it's enough's enough and you feel like this is good. I'm in a good spot. I don't want to have to keep pushing all the time. But unfortunately, sometimes we're forced to do that. So if you're in this boat where one of these changes, and a great example, Mike, the used book guy, I feel like we're just like, we're colleagues in this, even though we come from, eBay. I come from an eBay background. He's an Amazon background. We've taught each other so much. I've got his channel down in my stuff. I reference Mike all the time because he's such a wealth of knowledge, and I want him to get credit for things that he's taught me. He got hit by this FBA restriction, a month or 6 weeks ago, and he didn't give up. He said, guess what? I can sell merchant fulfilled. And maybe on this latest one, it didn't hit me. I don't know. Maybe it's just for FBA and you can do merchant fulfilled and you can make up the difference just doing it yourself instead of giving up. But that's just a case point. You don't give up. You don't let, work everything you can to get your critical path, to reduce your critical path elements. But when one of these things happen, you don't get up. You just work harder. You figure it out, figure out alternatives. Maybe the pendulum swings back in a few months, or maybe you grow a business into another selling channel or another sourcing channel if you have problems on that side. And the end result is you emerge out of this stronger. And that is the attitude and the mentality that I want everybody to have if you're faced with this, and to remember. And if it's not hitting you now, then just know, if you sell long enough, one of these rule changes, one of these seemingly arbitrary, unfair things will impact you. So, always be thinking of ways that you can feasibly diversify and reduce your dependence on some of these selling channels, so that you have alternatives and that your critical path is just not one single thing, and you'll be ahead of the game. So anyway, I just wanted to put this out. I think it's timely. Again, there's a lot of stuff packed in there, and if you're going through this, I feel for you, and especially if it's impacting your livelihood. But just do the work. You've done it. Do it again. Be stronger, and you're going to come out of this. It might take a few weeks. It might take a couple of months, but you're going to come out of this stronger and better. And you'll sell more. You'll sell more books. You'll be a lot better off on the other side. So anyway, remember, see cool, buy cool, and hang in there, especially if you're getting hammered on this. And just look forward to all the comments. Again, subscribe. Just support it. Thanks for the support, and we'll just keep doing it. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye.